The Ambitious Radio Network. Conversations with ambitious entrepreneurs and thought leaders. Are you an entrepreneur, startup junkie, or just someone interested in improving their leadership skills? If you're looking to be motivated, inspired, and uncover what it takes to get to the next level, listening to Ambitious Radio will be well worth the investment of your time. We have weekly engaging conversations with today's most influential thought leaders and entrepreneurs as they discuss their successes, failures, tipping points, and other priceless information that you can apply immediately after listening. Now, here's your host, Doug Parker. And welcome to the show today. Going to be a great program. We're so glad you're here on Texas Money and Business on KEXP, Experts in Business, 620 AM. I'm Ron Taylor, and Doug Parker with Ambitious Radio Network is here, and we're ready to get a great show underway. Doug, welcome in.
Well, thanks so much, Ron. As always, we really appreciate you and couldn't do it without you.
Thanks,
Today, as always, we're talking to entrepreneurial-minded individuals, leaders, and trying to interview interesting people and really find out what makes them ambitious, what makes them tick. And so we couldn't do this without our sponsors, Grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system. And most of the time, small business owners need to personally guarantee any loans that they take out. And that can be especially tough if they've got credit issues. So if you have those, go to repairmycreditnow.com. They'll do a free credit report evaluation. So today we're going to be getting to know the ambitious leader, and we're speaking with Bob Burg. Bob is a highly sought after speaker and company leadership and sales conference, sharing platforms with everyone from today's business leaders, broadcast personalities, and even former United States presidents. He is the author of a number of best-selling books including marketing and sales, influence, and other things, selling well over 1 million copies. His book, The Go-Giver, has sold just over 500,000 copies and translated into 21 languages. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be with you. Great to be with both of you, Doug and Ron.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I see here that you are an animal lover, and I am as well. We've got a couple little Chihuahua puppies in our household, but I see you serve on the board of trustees for Furry Friends.
Yeah, terrific organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really, really good stuff. And so many people nowadays they just don't take care of their animals. So I'm glad to hear there's guys out there like you. Both of our puppies are adopted from shelters, and
well,
so
good for you. Terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I see that you're from Jupiter, Florida. Is that where you're actually from? Or is that just where you live now?
Actually, I grew up in Massachusetts. Got down here as fast as I could, though.
Yeah, it's kind of cold up there this time of year.
Yeah, I've been here for almost 30 years, and every day I'm just so thankful that I'm here.
Good. Well, so we're going to jump right in, and we're going to talk a lot about The Go-Giver. It is such an impactful book, and
Thank you.
it was recommended to me many years ago, and let's just talk a little bit. I mean, I see that one of the quotes you have in here reminds me of old mentor of mine, Mr. Zig Ziglar, that has since passed away. But it says on here that you believe that the amount of money one makes is directly proportionate to or how many people that you serve. But can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, and the famous saying by Zig you're probably referring to is you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want.
Yes, sir.
And that is so true. And Zig was such a fantastic, amazing human being. And I love how Tom and his sisters are carrying on the legacy of Zig, and just such fantastic people. And Zig certainly had it right that when you can provide value to others, when you can really shift your focus, and this is really what the premise of The Go-Giver is, the book itself, is that shifting one's focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing value to others. And that doing so is not only a nice way to live life and a nice way to conduct business, it actually happens to be the most profitable way of doing business as well. Why? Because in the basically free market-based economy in which we live, where most of us are doing business in an environment where no one is forced to do business with us. No one is forced to buy from us. And I often say when I speak at a sales conference, I'll start out by saying, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, you need to make the sale. They're not even going to buy from you because you think you have the best product or service out there and that it would be really helpful to them. They're only going to buy from you because they believe it is in their best interest to do so. And that's the only reason why they should buy from you. And so when you focus on bringing value to that, when you focus on making their life better, or as Zig would say, helping them get what they want, well, they're going to feel good about you. They're going to like you. They're going to trust you. They're going to respect you. And the chances are much better that they're going to do business with you. Now, when we say your income's determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them, what we're saying is that it's not enough just to provide that great value to one person. That represents, as Nicole Martin, the CEO in the story, said to Joe, that represents only your potential income. It's law number two, that the law of compensation, which you mentioned, which is what represents your actual income, because that's all about the number of lives you impact with that value.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And as you talk about that, there's 5 laws of success that you have in the book, stratospheric success. So can you talk about those a little bit?
Sure. Well, the first one is the law of value, and that's the foundational principle, if you will. And it simply says that your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, this sounds a bit counterintuitive when you first hear it. Sounds somewhat counterproductive. Give more in value than I take in payment sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. And to understand this, we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar amount, it's a dollar figure. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of something, of a thing, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings with it so much worth or value that someone will willingly exchange their money for it? Again, willingly being the key property of a free market-based exchange. People do business with each other willingly, not through force. And they'll do this willingly, and they'll feel great about it while you make a very healthy profit. In the story, we talk about Ernesto Iafrate's Italian Cafe. It's a high-end restaurant in a swanky part of the village. So you may pay $150, couple $100 for a meal, but boy, the atmosphere is fantastic, and the way you're greeted, you're just made to feel so special, and the way the wait staff works as a team, and they know just when to pay attention and when to leave you alone, and the meal, of course, is just second to none. So you may pay $150, $200 in price, but you come away with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of value in terms of customer experience. So you receive, you're getting more value than what you pay. But of course, Iafrate's costs are well below what he charges. So he's making a profit as well. And that's how the law of value kicks in. In a free market-based exchange, there are always two profits in every transaction. Both parties, both the buyer and the seller, come away better off than they were before the transaction.
Gotcha. Now that makes a lot of sense, and then altogether, so there's a total of 5, right? So the law of value, the law of compensation, the law of influence, the law of authenticity, and the law of what's the next one? Receptivity.
Yeah, receptivity.
Okay, one more. Okay, very good, very good. Can you elaborate on those just a little bit as well?
Sure. Well, we talked about the second one, and that's when we take both value and reach. And that's so key. The law of influence says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, again, this sounds counterproductive, but when you think about it, all the great leaders, top influencers, the highest producing salespeople, this is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking for ways to benefit the other person, putting their interests first. Now, when we say place the other person's interest first, we certainly don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It simply means that you understand that, as several of the mentors told Joe, the protege in the story, the golden rule of business is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by, as Sam, one of the mentors, said, make your win about the other person's win.
Yep, that really is fantastic. People that you, so I've heard this before. People that you know, love, and trust. Now, what was exactly that you said?
Yeah, well, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. So the
Absolutely.
more of those kind of relationships you can build, you really become that how-to guy. You've got all sorts of people out there watching your back.
That makes really perfect sense. And as you mentioned, I mean, these aren't necessarily rocket science tools, but
No.
what they are is they're just applicable. And a long time ago, I heard this from somebody, and I think they were in the automobile business, but it said something like, "Make a friend, sell a car." You get to
Yeah.
know people, and they want to do business with people they like. So it really is really pretty pretty straightforward. Now, you make an interesting point that I think we should spend a little bit of time on. You talk about the go-giver philosophy and that it's totally congruent with human nature, but that can be looked at in many ways. I mean, some of them are positive and some of them not so much. Could you kind of explain, kind of what your thoughts are there?
Well, I mean, human nature is just human nature. It's what it is. Much like any physical law. Okay, I mean, you take gravity, and well, is gravity good or is gravity bad? Well, it depends on the situation. If it when it's good, I guess, when it keeps you from floating aimlessly up into space, and it's bad if you happen to be walking off a seven-story building. So typically, like the physical laws of the universe, uh, the laws of human nature are much the same. People are, who we are. We're built. We've been created a certain way. Now, um, Dale Carnegie in his classic "How to Win Friends and Influence People," while he made phenomenal points throughout his book, there was one that I believe is the underlying premise of the entire book. And if we understand this, we understand and can work within human nature. And that's when he wrote, ultimately, people do things for their reasons, not our reasons. So the great influencer doesn't try to push people, doesn't try to push themselves or their will or their ideas on others. They gently pull people, and they do this by tapping into what motivates the other person. In sales, when you look at what is sales, sales is simply discovering what the other person wants, needs, or desires, and helping them to get it. That's what selling is by its very nature. When we talk about influence, the great influencers, they continually ask themselves questions such as, how does what I'm asking this other person to do, how does it, and we're talking whether it's a team member or whether it's, whatever, how does what I'm asking this person to do align with their goals, with their wants, their needs, their desires? How does what I want this other person to do, how does it align with their values? And when asking ourselves these questions intelligently, thoughtfully, authentically, which of course is law number 4 in the story, authentically, not as a way to manipulate another person into doing our will, not at all, but as a way simply of building everyone in the process, now we've come a lot closer to earning the other person's commitment. See, there's a huge difference between having one's commitment and having one's compliance.
Mm.
I love what the great leadership teacher, Dondi Scumaci, says about this. She says, when it comes to leadership and influence, she says, compliance will never take you where commitment can go. And
Mm.
I think that's so wise. You see, great leadership is never about the leader. Great influence is never about the leader, about the influencer, and great salesmanship is never about the salesperson. It's always about the other person. It's about everyone whose lives you choose to touch, whose lives you choose to add value to.
That is great stuff for our ambitious listeners. And as we kind of wrap up this segment, if there's anything that you missed, the books that we've quoted, or maybe some of the favorite quotes, you can always go to ambitiousradio.com and the content will be there. Just search for the guest show page. We've got Bob Burg here today. So just type his name in the search bar and he'll pop right up for you. Like Ambitious Radio on Facebook if you're a Facebooker, or follow us on Twitter. Tune in after the break when we'll get a word from our sponsors. And we'll be right back with Bob Burg and hear more about his career pursuits and his experience of becoming an ambitious leader and helping entrepreneurs right here on the Ambitious Radio Network.
You get the most for your lease. start shopping for a car, you go in thinking that this time you're really going to get a great deal. Then the haggling starts. You have to fence with the salesman over the price, then verbally joust with the finance manager over the interest rate and all the extras they want to sell you. By the time you get out of there, you're glad to have escaped with your watch and rings. Stop the insanity. There's a better way, and that's to lease your next car from Autoflex Leasing. Call the leasing specialist at Autoflex, and you'll find that getting your next car can be fast, easy, and fun. Your Autoflex specialist leases all makes and models, both new and used. They'll also pick up your trade-in for an appraisal and deliver your new car to your home or office. Imagine leasing your next car and never having to go to a dealer. Happens every day at Autoflex Leasing. To see for yourself, call Autoflex today at 817 or 972-234-1234 or reach them at Autoflex.com. Autoflex Leasing, a better way to lease your next car.
Autoflex Lease, oh yeah.
And back in here on the program. So good to have you here on KEXP. Texas Money and Business and Ambitious Radio Network is underway with Doug Parker and a great guest today. Doug?
Thanks so much for that, Ron. And again, brought to you by our sponsors, all3reports.com. That's all the number 3reports.com. Many people only check their credit reports every 3 to 5 years when they're financing maybe a home or purchasing a vehicle. But if there's an issue, that could be too late. So speaking of a new vehicle, a wise person once said, lease what depreciates and buy what appreciates. So go to Autoflex Leasing. They have a better way to lease your next car. They're America's largest independent leasing company. And so as we kind of get into it, we've got Bob Burg here today of The Go-Giver. He's the author of that book. And, as a leader, what's one of the personal habits that you would say has most contributed to your success, Bob?
Well, one of the things is studying leadership, learning about leadership. I always felt that I was when I was in sales anyway, I was a good producer, but I wasn't necessarily a good leader. The first time I was made sales manager of a company, I really didn't do a great job of leading, and I didn't know how to lead. And I didn't, realize at the time there were actually books on leadership and so forth. So once I discovered that, I just love reading books, reading now blog posts, learning about leadership. I think I've probably read, 10 of Dr. John Maxwell's books. His 21 Immutable Laws of Leadership, I think, is a classic. And I think the first law, when he talked about the law of the lid, that really our leadership can progress only to the degree, or our success can take place in terms of being a leader only to the degree that we continue to build our abilities to lead. And reading that chapter, I said, wow, yes, this is exactly what I need to learn how to do. So there's lots of great leadership books. I almost hate to mention any because there's so many great ones out there. I don't want to leave anybody out. But so I think as leaders, we need to make a study of leadership. There may be some real natural leaders out there, but I don't think anyone's that natural that they can do it without learning from others and be as effective as they possibly could be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I actually look at by doing this show is I kind of look at it as a 1-hour mentoring session with someone that really has some expertise in something. And I like to dig a little deeper in the books they've written or the leadership techniques they use. And, it's interesting that you say you don't want to mention any one particular book, but the great news is John Maxwell, several of our guests have talked about his different books that he has, all the different, amount of laws of different things. But the 21 law, I think, irrefutable laws of leadership, there's a couple different ones, but how to win friends and influence people. There's a reason why there are these reoccurring themes, why these books continue to get brought up. It's because they're great books. And so again, we put all that stuff on the site, and people can check it out. And just that continued leadership. Successful people have a plan, they stick to their plan, and they continue to educate themselves. And so that's very important that that folks do that. So now let me ask you this: was there one maybe piece of advice that you've received even before you knew about the Go-Giver, and kind of what that entailed, that was a difference maker for you?
Sure, it was. And by the way, I just want to clarify, when I said I didn't want to mention any one book, it's only because I didn't want to leave others out. Right. I'm happy to talk about leadership books and mention many of them that I've read. Sure. But I just always say, you hate to mention one and leave everybody out. Right. But there are certainly so many that I always love discussing different leadership books. But when you ask the question about one about one incident. I would say there was one incident that really was a difference maker to me. Now, on the other hand, I was very fortunate to be born to just a couple of great people. I mean, I was totally blessed to have the parents that I had, so I could model them. And they were people who are truly, to this day, what I would call go-givers, even though that's not a word that would have been necessarily used or thought of at that time. But so that having that example was a great thing, certainly a great thing for me. But there was one when I was just really starting out in sales, and I was in my mid-20s, and it was I think my second sales job, but it was my first kind of large kind of sales job. And I remember coming back from an appointment, and I was very discouraged because the person didn't buy, and so forth and so on. And the person who saw me was with the company. I think he was in the engineering department. He was an older guy. He was about to retire. I don't remember ever seeing him again, and I remember only seeing him a couple times before that. I don't know if I'd ever been in a conversation other than hello with him, but I think he saw in me potential, and maybe he saw me as sort of like Joe, the protege and the go-giver who had potential, who was a well-meaning guy, but really didn't have his priorities where they needed to be. He was too focused on himself, as Joe, and I think I probably was as well. And I think this gentleman saw that I looked at sales as being about me, and I think probably at that time I did. And he told me something that had such an amazing impact on me. He said, "Burg, if you want to make a lot of money in business, if you want to make a lot of money in sales," he said, "don't have making money as your target. Your target," he said, "is serving others." Now, he continued, "when you hit your target, you'll get a reward. And that reward will usually come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It's not the target itself. Your target is serving others."
That's
And
that's
yeah,
powerful.
it was. And that made a huge difference. That really changed my sales career.
Yeah, absolutely. So the target is serving others. The money will follow.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
just gotta do it. So we've got a
This
couple
is
minutes. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was going to say this is one reason why John David Mann, my awesome co-author of The Go-Giver, we have a saying that money is simply an echo of value. It's the thunder to value's lightning, which simply means the value must be the focus, providing value to the other person. The value comes first, and the money you receive, which would be law number 5, the law of receptivity, the money you receive is simply a very natural and direct result of the value you've provided.
Gotcha. So let me ask you one question as we kind of wrap up this segment. If you could go back and tell yourself one thing, the 10-year younger Bob, 10 years ago, what one thing would you tell yourself?
I think I would have to go back a little longer than that for it to be really impactful. Because
Okay.
while I keep growing, uh, there were. I think the major things in my life took place about 20 years ago,
Okay.
and that's when I started on a real. I took the information from Benjamin Franklin's book, The Autobiography, where he talked about the 13 values, and he and not values. I'm trying to think of the name, but whatever. It's 13 character traits, basically, about improving. And I did what Franklin said in that book, and it made a huge difference in my life. So what I would have said is 20 years ago, I would have said, "Berg, get Franklin's book and do exactly what he tells you."
That makes a lot of sense, and I'll research that, guys, and we'll figure out what
Yeah.
that book is and put it
So,
on there
well,
as well.
it's the autobiography
Oh,
by Benjamin Franklin, but it was the 13. It's a chapter, the 13, I want to say attributes, but that's not what it is. And I just can't think of what it is.
Gotcha. We'll get it put on there. No big deal at all. And so that really is great stuff for our ambitious listeners. And if you like what you're hearing, subscribe by texting ambitious to 69922. Again, ambitious to 69922. Standard messaging rates will apply. See website for more details. Next, we'll be talking more to Bob Burg, author of The Go Giver, about the ambitious things that he's doing now and what's next on Ambitious Radio.
Here's another RepairMyCreditNow.com story.
It's a day this family had dreamed of for quite some time. They were finally getting that brand new SUV. The salesperson at the auto dealership gave them the keys and told them to take it for the weekend. He'd prepared the documents and called them Monday morning. The kids had already installed the headrest DVD when the phone rang. Seems there was a problem with their credit they were unaware of. They'd have to return the SUV to the dealership immediately. Embarrassing, to say the least.
www.repairmycreditnow.com.
Hello, this is Doug Parker with RepairMyCreditNow.com. Do you have less than perfect credit, a repo, maybe some late payments, a collection account? Are they being reported accurately? Studies show that over 70% of Americans have inaccuracies on their credit reports. Where do you fit in? Go to RepairMyCreditNow.com for your free credit report evaluation. And remember, your credit is your future. If you want to get started now, log on now. RepairMyCreditNow.com.
RepairMyCreditNow.com. www.repairmycreditnow.com.
Back in here on the show, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on KEXP, Experts in Business. We certainly have a couple of great experts around the roundtable today here on the Ambitious Radio Network with Doug Parker. Doug?
Yes, sir. Thanks so much. And entrepreneurs out there, if you're thinking of expanding your business but don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a new phone system, consider Grasshopper.com. Keep your existing number, multiple extensions, voicemails transcribed, and no new hardware. Grasshopper.com, the entrepreneur's phone system. Today, talking to Bob Burg. He's the author of The Go-Giver. And let's talk about some of the ambitious things that you're doing now and what's next, Bob.
Well, my business partner, Kathy Tagenel, and I, we are growing a what we call the Certified Go-Giver Speaker Program. And this is for people who want to be speakers, professional speakers. And we teach them how to build a speaking business and we base it on the intellectual properties from the Go-Giver, endless referrals, ultimate influence, and my other work that I've developed over the last 30 years or so. So that's our big thing that we're building.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. And so I know in the book, kind of a lot of this stuff just intertwines into just about everything. But our show, a lot of our listeners are very entrepreneur driven and leadership and whatnot. And so, entrepreneurs are always a big part of the economy. They're responsible for a lot of the growth and small business and hiring and those kind of things. And, in the book, you kind of mentioned that if you're in a business, you don't have to go start your own business to be an entrepreneur. You kind of throw out the term intrapreneur. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean by being an intrapreneur?
Sure. Well, when you think of it, an entrepreneur, we think of that person who begins their own business, who invests their money, or they raise funding, or but they have a basic idea and they go out and they do it. And what the entrepreneur has to do, what they have got to do, is they've got to find a way to add value to the marketplace, because that's how they're going to be remunerated, and that's how they're going to be able to receive income and keep their business growing and going. The person who works inside a corporation can still be an entrepreneur. They're just an intrapreneur. They're an entrepreneur within the organization, because if you work for someone else, whether it's a big company, mid-size or small, you still have a client. At least one client. That client is your employer. Mm-hmm. And you have other stakeholders you need to add value to, whether it's your immediate supervisors, whether it's your coworkers, maybe it's the end user, or whomever it is. And so to the degree, and remember, just like I said at the beginning, no one's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. They're going to do it for their own reasons. It's the same with your employer. They're going to hire you and keep you with them because they believe it's in their best interest to do so. They're receiving more in use value from you than what they're paying in cash value. So you're both winning. So in order to do that and make it happen, you've got to be an entrepreneur. Now, it's not just to survive at your job that you do that, although that's not a bad reason either. It's to advance in your job, because if you want to advance, you do so by making yourself so valuable that, again, it's in your employer's best interest to use you more and more and in higher ways, in which you'll also receive more.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So, essentially, as an employee, you're saying you just become valuable, do more than what you get paid for, and eventually you get paid more for what you do, and just really bring the value, which is again right back to your one of those five
Sure.
stratospheric success principles there. So now let's talk about mentorship, because I know that's a really big thing. How's the best way to find a mentor, and then also if you're looking for a mentor, I mean, how can you add value once you do find one?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because people do understand that it's great to have a mentor, to have someone who can share their experience with you, someone who can take you under their wing, and someone who can cut your learning curve time. It's sort of like following a system. When you think of it, I often describe a system as simply the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, all you need to do is A, and do it consistently, you'll get the desired result of B. Well, often a mentor is like that in the way that they can help cut your learning curve. But just approaching someone who you admire and coming right out and asking them to be your mentor isn't typically the most effective way to do so, because it's almost, when you do that, and I see people doing that a lot, they'll just, they'll approach someone, or they'll write to someone, who they admire, and they'll say, hey, I really need a mentor. Can you be my mentor? And a mentor-protege relationship is just that. It's a relationship. So when you just come right out and ask someone who doesn't know you to be your mentor, it's sort of like saying, hey, will you agree to, share your 40 years of experience with me, even though you don't know me at all, and right, and so that's probably not the best way to do it. But what you can certainly do is you can contact someone who you admire, and most people who are successful, not all, but most, are glad to help someone out when the person goes about it in the right way. And you can certainly say that you realize they're very busy and they may not have time, which is very understandable. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, may I ask you one or two very specific questions? Okay. Boom. So you're letting them know that you respect them and that you respect the process, that you're not going to waste their time. You're not, right. And so the first thing I would say is to make sure you research this person thoroughly, so that you're not asking them anything that you could easily find by doing an internet search.
Gotcha.
Okay. So ask very specific questions. And then at the end of the first discussion, you let them know how grateful you are, that you're looking forward to applying their advice, and you'll keep in touch and let them know. Now, what I would do is that very day, I would write a personalized handwritten note, and hand addressed and hand stamped note. And I would send it to them, thanking them again for their time, how much you appreciate their taking the time, again, that you look forward to applying, and so forth. I would even, make a small donation to their favorite charity or cause, which again, you can easily discover that by looking at their profile online. And it doesn't have to be a big, doesn't have to be any kind of big donation, anything small. But remember, it will get to them. You make the donation in their name, so it will get to them. You're not doing it to kiss up. You're doing it again just so they'll know that you respect the process. What you're saying is, I realize that this time I can't add the kind of value to you that you can add to me, but I certainly want to try. And then anytime you can in any way be of value to them in some way, and there's many ways you can do so, that's a good idea too. And then when you contact this person again, maybe with another question, and again you let them know what you did with it and how, now you start to build a relationship, and over time it naturally grows into what can be a mentor-protege relationship.
Well, that's great advice, and we're kind of closing in on the end of this segment. But when we come back, I'm going to ask Bob a question specifically about being a go-giver. If you're always giving, and you're not focused on taking, then do you run out, and how would you tell someone, no, I don't think I can do that, and still be a go-giver? So we'll get into more details on that right after this break. We'll hear a quick brief announcement from our sponsors, and then we'll be discussing more with Bob about what he does to recharge his ambitious body and mind right here on the Ambitious Radio Network. Hey, ambitious listeners, you hear us interviewing entrepreneurs all the time, and there's a common theme. They want to be more productive and improve their communication. As an ambitious entrepreneur, you're always on the go. So turn your mobile phone into a business phone system with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. The Ambitious Radio Network recently partnered with Grasshopper to offer our listeners a special discount. Log on to ambitiousradio.com and click on the Grasshopper banner in the bottom right-hand corner. Get a new business number or keep your current one. Sound professional with a main greeting and multiple extensions that forwards callers to your mobile phone or others in your organization. Get a toll-free number or local number for your business with multiple extensions. Set up each extension with custom call forwarding to any phone in the world. Get your voicemails emailed to you as an audio attachment or transcribed an email. Keep business calls separate from your personal calls. Plans start at $12 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Remember to click on the Grasshopper banner at ambitiousradio.com for a special discount for our listeners. Join the over 150,000 small business owners that have stayed connected with Grasshopper. See how Grasshopper works? It's the entrepreneur's phone system. Turn the world into your office.
And we're back in here on Texas Money and Business. Good to have you along here on KEXB, Experts in Business at 6:20 a.m. I'm Ron Taylor. Hope this information is beneficial to you, and we certainly appreciate Doug and his guest today for being on the program. Doug Parker with Ambitious Radio Network. Doug?
Thanks so much for that, Ron. And, you know, as we kind of get going here, I know a lot of people, we've mentioned a lot of books, and me personally, I don't love to read, but I love to get information. So I prefer to listen. So ambitious listeners, if you prefer to listen to books, you can go to audible.com. And if you haven't already taken advantage of it, we've got a special deal where you can download a couple of books for free and listen to them just for becoming a new audible.com member. So just go to ambitiousradio.com, click on the banner, and you can download even some of Bob's books and listen to those and get a lot of great content out of it. So today, again, we're talking to Bob Burg. He's a best-selling author of multiple books, including Endless Referrals, Adversaries into Allies, and The Art of Persuasion, in addition to The Go-Giver. And Bob, let's kind of clean up that last question I asked you before the break. You know, are there any misconceptions out there about being a go-giver and how that, you know, you can just kind of give, and how do you, if you are a giver, how do you tell people, you know, no, because sometimes you have to do that?
Yeah, well, I think there are misconceptions before people actually read the book, because with a title like The Go-Giver, it might sound like, well, you just give yourself away and, you know, don't make a profit or don't care about it. And of course, that's nothing could be further from the truth. Being a go-giver simply means you understand that your focus needs to be on providing value to others. Again, money being an echo of value. But go-givers tend to be the most profitable business people because they sell on value, on high value, rather than low price. They know that when you sell on price, you're a commodity. When you sell on value, you're a resource, and that's where you want to be. People might think, well, gosh, if you're a go-giver, you're always at everyone's beck and call. You can't say no to people. Again, it's an understandable fallacy, but it's a fallacy because as a go-giver, you're usually very, very successful, and you're going to have people asking you for a lot of things, and you simply cannot say yes to everything, you know, without taking away from adding the kind of value to the marketplace that you need to be doing. So what a go-giver does is they say no much more than they say yes. But what they do is they always say yes in a way that's kind, in a way that's respectful, and in a way that honors the other person.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I like that a lot. And you can't always say yes to everything, but you know, respectful
No, you
and
can't.
and just kind of let them down softly, if you will. So let's talk about how you recharge your ambitious body, mind, and spirit. Because I know you're a go-giver. I know you're out there doing a whole lot. I see the volunteering that you're doing on the boards and the different things. So there's only 24 hours a day, 168 hours in a week. So what do you do? Whenever you get drained, what are some of the things that maybe drain you? What are some of the things that fill you up, and kind of how do you get recharged?
I recharge, I think, by reading. I do love to read. I also love listening to audiobooks. I just love taking in information. It's really fun for me. And when it's a topic that I enjoy, whether it's politics, I'm a very huge believer, as you know, in free market economies. And I believe that's the freer the market is, I should say, the more free market it is, the more everyone benefits.
Sure.
And so that's certainly a passion for me. And so I love reading about it. I love speaking about it and so forth. I get charged up when I'm speaking on stage. I limit my speaking now to about 30 engagements a year just because at 58, I don't want to travel as much as I have for so long, but I still love doing it. I could probably speak every day of the year if it was right here in Jupiter, Florida, but it's not like that. So, I mean, those are the things I like to do. I don't really travel anywhere if I don't have to because I travel for a big part of my living. So I would just as soon be home and be right here in Jupiter, Florida. I love where I live, and I don't have what most people would probably call the most exciting life in the world. Most people would, if they knew really what I did day to day, they'd probably think I had a really boring life. But I got to tell you, I love it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you're in Florida. I mean, it's we're in Texas, so it's the second best place I can think of to be in America. But with that being said, do you have any favorite places that you like to go on vacation? Like if you get a speaking engagement in somewhere that's like, all right, I really look forward to going to this part of the country or part of the world, I guess.
There are a lot of really, really nice places, but I'm not much of a tourist, so I kind of typically get into town. I go from the airport to the hotel, do my program, and leave.
Okay.
In fact, it was really funny because I spoke in Beijing a couple of years ago at a major sales conference, and I took a couple people with me, to help out. And so when my event was over, they actually stayed a couple of days to tour and so forth. I just wanted to go home, and it's not that I didn't enjoy my time there. The people there treated me wonderfully. They couldn't have been just more fantastic. But I just, I did my job. I was there, and I wanted to go home.
I know that feeling, and we talked about animals earlier. So, are you like a dog lover or a cat lover?
Well, I mean, I love all animals. I mean, I just love them all. I grew up with dogs, and I have an affinity for them. No question about that. But I love them all, and I have a shelter cat right now, and that's my only pet, Calvin, named after Calvin Coolidge, my favorite president. I've grown to really appreciate. I always loved cats as well as dogs. I love all animals, but I've really grown to appreciate cats a lot more. So, not more than dogs, but I mean more than what I did. So,
Sure.
but I'm still really, I would say a dog, really a dog person.
No, I got you with that. And then my point was, when you're traveling, there's a certain comfort. If you have animals at home and those kind of things, you just kind of want to get there and, pet your
Exactly.
animals, and it kind of takes stress away. And it's
Oh,
for those that don't have
absolutely.
animals, it's a great stress reliever. Now they can cause some stress sometimes too, especially puppies. But when they
Mhm.
grow up, they wind up being all right. So
But there's nothing like a shelter animal because they appreciate the fact that you rescued them. They
Right.
they somehow know it. I mean, any pet that you get from anywhere is fine, but when you adopt a shelter animal, you will have their loyalty and love like you can't believe.
yeah, that really does make a difference. And so that's great stuff. So let me ask this, Bob. If someone wanted to have you come out and speak, or they wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably just to go to my website, which is burg.com, and they can connect with me on all the social media there. They can subscribe to our Influence and Success Insights. They can get more information on the Certified Go-Giver Speaker Program, and they can get chapter 1 of the book of the Go-Giver, as well as some of my other books, to see if they like them first before clicking through. And anyone who wants me to speak at their event, they can connect with us right through the website.
Great. And just as a compliment to you, I'll tell you, I've interviewed several people, and as I researched, having you on the show, and then and working with it's Kirsty, correct?
Yeah, Kirsty. Yeah.
Kirsty. So you guys are so organized, and,
Oh,
and
thank
just a pleasure to do the interview with in person, but also the preparation for it. So well prepared. There's no reason in the world, or there is a big reason, I should say, why you guys are so successful, because it's just principle based, very simple, and it was just a great time today with you. I appreciate you carving out an hour of your busy schedule to spend with us here today. And as we kind of wrap up, we always want to thank our sponsors at Ambitious Radio. We're so thankful. We could not do this without you guys. We've got repairmycreditnow.com, and entrepreneurs are always looking for ways to do different things creatively. And there's a great resource. It's 99 Designs. If you need a website or a logo, they connect you with the world's greatest graphic designers. Get dozens of designs and artwork done for just the price of one. At 99 Designs, you spend less and get more. Start your design contest today. So tune in Wednesdays to the Ambitious Radio Network when we interview thought leaders and exciting entrepreneurs changing the faces of their organizations. Remember, you can make money or you can make excuses, but you cannot make both. Go out there and be ambitious.
Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Radio Network, hosted by serial entrepreneur Doug Parker. Join us weekly as we have engaging conversations with ambitious entrepreneurs and thought leaders on topics that can be applied immediately after listening. Like what you've heard? Listen to other interviews at ambitiousradio.com or subscribe on iTunes.